Bill received his bachelor's in Earth and Planetary Sciences from the University of Pittsburgh, his master's in Geology from Penn State, and his doctorate in Applied Earth Sciences from Stanford. Am I right, Bill?
Correct.
Good. He's a founding board member and a current chair of the DarkSky Oregon, founded in 2019. DarkSky Oregon is dedicated to preserving Oregon's magnificent dark skies and diminishing light pollution for the health, safety, and well-being of all life. Okay, and he's originally from Pittsburgh. He has 35 years of industry experience in remote sensing, exploration, and technology development. So welcome, Bill. We look forward to you teaching us.
Thanks, Melissa. But there will be a test later. No test. Lights, please. Thanks for coming, and we appreciate your attention here. So the picture on the screen here is of Flagstaff, Arizona, which is known as the first international dark sky community. 20 years ago, Flagstaff became recognized internationally for this. And the driver for them was to protect the telescope system, the observatories near town, one of which is operated by the U.S. Navy, U.S. Naval Observatory. So the city, working with those observatories, had a motivation to reduce light pollution, and they've been very successful. In particular, they've had ordinances about light pollution since 1957. And the most recent ordinance gives you a picture like this, where essentially all of the lights in town are required to be yellow or amber in color. And that's critical because if we look at a light and it's amber to us, there is no blue light coming from the lamp. And we'll talk more about that. It turns out that blue light at night is a particularly bad idea, so Flagstaff going amber, except for some special cases, has been very successful in reducing light pollution, and it's recognized globally for that. So we'll talk a little bit about DarkSky Oregon and our goals, talk about what is light pollution. We'll spend some time talking about the blue part of light, which is bad, give some examples of good lighting, talk about our aging eyes, some of us of a certain age. And we have data that complements people's experience of night skies getting brighter and the stars disappearing. Longtime residents have observed that. And we have scientific data which confirms that. However, we have a good idea about how to bring back the starry skies. We'll talk about the economics of dark skies and also give an update on what are called international dark sky places in Oregon. So DarkSky Oregon is a nonprofit 501c3, been operating for 6 or 7 years. We're statewide, and several of us live here in Bend, so we're able to do this in person. We are recognized globally as a dark sky organization that's made a lot of progress in our work. And as Melissa mentioned, our mission is to preserve Oregon's dark skies and to diminish light pollution for health, safety, and well-being of all life. And by the way, that includes bringing the stars back too. So our goals are educational outreach, such as this kind of presentation. We support certification of dark sky places in Oregon. We also measure light pollution, which is a science. So anytime you have a form of pollution, in order to convince decision makers at city, county, state level, if you have some science behind measuring the pollution, you're much better off than if you're just waving your arms. We encourage both voluntary change on outdoor lighting to businesses and residents. And we also encourage update of lighting ordinances. We're currently working with Deschutes County to try to update their 1994 lighting ordinance, which is 30 plus years out of date. So what is light pollution and what causes it? There are really 4 aspects of light pollution. One that called sky glow, which is a brightening of the night sky, and that prevents the stars from being visible. But there are other kinds of light pollution. There's glare, which affects, especially older people more than younger people, and we'll talk more about that. There's light trespass, which, for example, here's a street light, and there's light coming from that street light into this house here. So that's referred to as light trespass. And it typically can be considered to be a public nuisance. There's also clutter, which is basically a lot of lights. You drive down the highway and you see a lot of lights and you're kind of confused by what you're looking at. It's kind of get the Las Vegas, look, not only in Las Vegas, but other places. So those are aspects of light pollution. And here's a picture taken from Pine Mountain Observatory, which is about 20 miles southeast of Bend, looking back toward Bend, Redmond, Prineville, and you could see the glow of sky glow above the cities. And from our vantage point in Pine Mountain with this camera, we can see the stars above, but you can be sure that standing down in Bend looking up, you're not going to see those stars because of the glowing sky from the light escaping from the cities. So our chapter, DarkSky Oregon, is part of a global community, and the global organization is called DarkSky International, and they've come up with 5 principles of responsible outdoor lighting. And I reordered them here, 5 of them, and I put warm color lights first because of recent research. So responsible outdoor lighting, you need warm colored lights. You have to ask your question, is the light I have useful? Or is it just lighting up your yard or a business and there's no particular reason for it? Is it targeted? Namely, is it shielded onto your property, not trespassing off somebody else's? And is it at a low level? It doesn't have to be particularly bright, to have a security light. And the other possibility here is controlling it with timers, motion sensors, or dimmers, so that maybe after 11 o'clock you can dim your lights outside to be 30% of what they were before when people were walking around. So responsible outdoor lighting. So some slides here on the blue part of light. When we look at a white light, like the light in the back of the room over there, or any light that looks white to our eyes, we see it as white because it's a mix of red, green, and blue colors. And it's the blue part of that white light that is particularly problematic with many aspects, which we'll talk about. The first one is shown by this diagram, which shows the visible wavelength of light from blue across to red. And the vertical scale here is the percent of scattering in the atmosphere. So what you get out of this is that blue light scatters much more than red light. And that is why, for example, we have a blue sky, because the blue part of sunlight scatters preferentially and comes down to us, and we look up. If it's not cloudy, we see a blue sky. Same thing happens at night. The blue light from artificial light on the ground goes up, scatters in the atmosphere, and hides the stars, much more than the yellow or the orange or the red light. So it's the blue light, a particular problem with lights that look white to our eyes. We don't see the blue because it's all mixed into one white appearance, but it's the blue light that's causing that problem more than any other light. And here's a complicated diagram that shows each one of these rows is a different type of light, ranging from the original, what we knew for 50 years as lights that were street lights that had that orangish color, high pressure sodium, low pressure sodium. And they've largely been replaced by LEDs, which are much more efficient to run. You save a lot of electricity, and it's cheaper. But the problem is a lot of the LEDs, especially those which were first created, have a lot of blue in them. So if we go from the high pressure sodium down to more lights with more blue, we can we know that these lights cause a lot more sky glow than the old-fashioned lights. So if we want to get back to the situation where, pre-LED, where we had less light pollution, we need to use LED lights that don't have blue. And there is such a thing. It's called phosphor-converted amber LED, and that's what Flagstaff has done. They're using these LED lights that give out that amber color.
Do you know if those are locally available?
They are available, street lights are available through manufacturers, and you could look online. And
The phosphor,
yeah, those are. And in fact, I'll show you a picture later. The Marriott, Spring Hill Marriott in Bend, just north of the Old Mill District here in Bend, they have phosphor-converted amber lights in their parking lot, so you can go and experience that. And those were put in like 5 years ago. So they are available. Okay, another story about why blue light is, the blue part of light is bad. It's because it affects our sleep. So this is a diagram that shows across 24 hours of a day, and this is the melatonin level in our body. So during daylight, we have a relatively low amount of melatonin, but as the sun sets and the blue light goes away, because unless we're in a parking lot or something, the blue light goes away and our melatonin naturally increases. Because the melatonin is key to the presence or absence of blue light in the environment. And so during the night, melatonin increases a lot. It helps us sleep. And as the sun comes up, melatonin decreases the blue light because of the blue light. Blue light comes back. And so this is called a circadian rhythm, and it helps us sleep. Another point on this is that if we look at the spectrum of, again, visible light here, this dashed line represents the sensitivity of the human system to circadian rhythm, and it peaks right into this around 460 nanometers here, and that turns out to be exactly the peak of a LED light shown in the solid line, and so that LED lights of a high correlated color temperature, like 5,000 or so, are particularly bad for our trying to sleep. And this is exactly why the American Medical Association advises you to not look at a computer monitor that has a lot of blue light in the evening if you're expecting to go to sleep anytime soon, because that blue light screws up your circadian rhythm.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
My phone, and I guess our phones have like the night mode, that's supposed to, does that take away the blue light if it goes into that?
Yeah, the question is about your phone night tab or computer monitor. If you choose that, your monitor will go more yellow and you minimizes the blue light. Okay, another reason that blue light is particularly bad is that it causes more glare than yellow or amber light. That's because of the wavelength, the short wavelength, scatters inside our eyeballs, just like it scatters in the air. It scatters, and we see a particular kind of offensive nature. Everybody's familiar with blue-rich headlights at night, causing glare. It's the blue light, the blue aspect of that. If you look at headlights that, like the old-fashioned kind, that are incandescent and more yellow-looking, not so much glare. Oh, they're less bright as well, of course. So that blue light adversely increases glare. If you have amber lights outside, like Flagstaff, much less glare, much safer.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have questions later. So the blue light thing, it seems like maybe higher end vehicles have the blue light headlights.
Yeah.
Considering all this, what is the advantage to them then?
Okay, the question is, what is the advantage of cars with those high-end bright headlights? Studies show that you get more different visibility at great distances with those lights, and the question is whether that greater distance detectability of like a pedestrian is worth all the glare that you get in response otherwise. So it's a mixed story. And there is an effort to eliminate those high-intensity, bright blue lights, not by our group, but by another group operating globally, actually. Yeah.
If you have them in your car, can they be replaced?
Question is, if you have those in your car, can they be replaced? And we found out in our Subaru, which has them, they can't be replaced. So I suspect it's a similar story. Yeah. Okay. Okay, another reason why blue light at night is bad is that it contributes to the insect Armageddon, the loss of insects globally, which cause pollination during the day and night, and particular issue. So here's an example of a white light which has the blue light component in it, and the insects are attracted to that. And we're all familiar with the idea, we see moths at night circling around some bright white light. And it turns out that most insects see with shorter wavelengths than we do. They see in the ultraviolet, the visible blue, and the green. They really don't see the yellow or amber or red colors. So that if you put an amber light out, like shown over here, there are very few insects around it. And so the white lights at night contribute to insect decline. A lot of these insects pollinate at night and otherwise, and if they get stuck in one of these white lights, they circle around from exhaustion and die. Okay, here's a couple of lights that we have. I mentioned this Spring Hill Marriott in Bend. So this is a spectrum that we recorded from these amber colored lights at the Marriott parking lot. And notice that there's essentially no blue light. Over at the new Costco parking lot, this picture, they put in lights that have a lot of blue in it. And we were late to the story there, trying to get them to put in amber lights, or at least more yellow lights. And they had already, of course, bought all their lights by the time we got involved. And they're contributing a lot to light pollution because of that blue light over there. And we have purple street lights in Bend. And a lot of people seem to think that we are responsible for purple street lights. But it turns out the purple street lights are a defect in the manufacturing. The street lights, not only in Bend, but across the country. There was a company that made these defective lights back in like 2016-17 timeframe. And the issue is an LED light by itself, an LED element by itself will put out blue light. So manufacturers put phosphors on top of it by some epoxy to change the spectrum of the light that comes out. So Bend, for example, put in lights that were 3,000 Kelvin, which actually matches the requirement of dark sky certification. But the problem with the lights, especially those that are at intersections where they had the light turned up brighter, the epoxy is fallen apart. And so the phosphors come off and more of the actual LED is exposed. And so you get first a kind of a purple light, then when that total falls off, you get total blue. So you've seen a bunch of these around. And you can let Bend, there's a website on the city of Bend location to let them know about a particular light that's turned blue. And they will talk to Pacific Power, who will switch them out. Thing is, Pacific Power and the city don't go around at night looking for these, so it's up to the population to let them know. Yeah, so this is what the street light should look like, 3,000 Kelvin with some blue. And after they turn purple, there's a much bigger streak there of blue, and that's particularly bad for the environment. Also, it's unsafe because it's beyond the safety specifications that allow this to be installed. Okay, some pictures of good lighting. So here's a mall on 4th Street in Bend with pretty good lighting. The lighting is underneath a canopy overhang, and some of the lights are actually yellow in color, and it's not glaring. It's a good example. And here's a pretty good example of quality lighting. So, the best outdoor lighting is lighting that you don't notice. It's not glaring in your face, it's not too bright, not too dark. It's just well designed. That's an example in this picture. And these are pictures from the city of Flagstaff. So downtown you can see amber lights, and locally the city of Flagstaff allows white light like in a gas station here, or in a car dealership, because people need to know the color of the car, or when you're pumping gas, you don't want to screw up because the color is wrong. So locally, they allow white light like this. And in the car dealerships over there, the white lights are on during operating hours, but they're required to shut them off like within a half hour after they close business. And then the car dealers can turn on amber lights to provide security, because the amber has no blue, and so it doesn't really contribute to light pollution, but it maintains the security. The car dealerships have to spend more money to get 2 sets of lights, but there you go. It's all in support of reduced light pollution in Flagstaff. Here's an example from Quebec that shows a similar story. You can't really read these details, but basically they're saying lights of yellow or amber color everywhere except in the car dealership lots. And it's a generally accepted approach to reduce light pollution. And here's some other pictures from Quebec showing before and after pictures. So here is a factory, a loading area with a couple of bright lights just shining out that will cause glare for you and for the camera that took the picture. And after they fixed the lighting, they added yellow, and they put local lights, so it's actually much safer, and it's better for the sky too. And here's a greenhouse at a university for study, and they put blackout curtains. So in Quebec, in this area, they're required to use blackout curtains to eliminate 90% of the light coming from the greenhouse. So greenhouses typically operate all night. And in our effort to get Deschutes County to update its lighting ordinance, we've asked to require this kind of blackout lighting on the inside walls and the ceiling of the greenhouses in Deschutes County going forward. Sports lighting. We're all familiar with the old-fashioned lighting of sports fields with this big, bright lights shining into not only the field but the whole neighborhood. Sports lighting has come a long way to this full cutoff technique. So here are tennis courts, and here's a football field. So the lighting can be full cutoff. So you're lighting up the field. It's good for the players. It's good for the people watching the game, and the neighbors are largely unaffected. Okay, comments about our aging eyes. We have both visual and non-visual sensing in our retinas, which is something that was, the non-visual part was discovered about 20 years ago. Our aging eyes reduce the quantity of light that comes into our retina. And there's an impact on circadian rhythm, vision, and safety by aging eyes. So here's a diagram of eye. There's 2 sets of detectors in our retina. The ones that we all know about, rods and cones, which are, the visual pathway, that's how we see. But in addition, there's this non-visual pathway. And these are photoreceptors that connect to the part of the brain that controls circadian rhythm. So when our eyes are open, we are detecting not only what we see, but part of our retina is sending a signal to the hypothalamus section that controls circadian rhythm. And these are slides, by the way, from a talk we heard in June by a lady from Portland, Eunice Noah Wagoner.
Do those signals still come in on an optic nerve, or there's another set of neurons that are in those non-visual?
Well, they're on the retina, Jim, so I suspect they're, I don't know the answer. That's a good question. But they are on the retina. If you look at a more complicated diagram, there's like a different layer on the retina. Okay, the age of our observer, okay, 20 years old, 80 years old, quantity of light reaching our retina drops dramatically. Yeah, it's shocking. So if you're a teenager, and if you're 70, 80 years old, you're only getting 30% of the light on your retina that you used to get. And that's why we do we require more light as we age. And then here's an interesting diagram from that same presentation. Again, age from like teenager out to 70 plus. And this is sleep problems recorded by, just, I have a sleep problem, fill out a form. Young people don't have many sleep problems. It really increases with age. And this is an issue because older people may have less mobility. They don't get outside as much to experience the bright light. And they may have cataracts, which cancel the blue range of light anyway. So even if you're outdoors, you're not getting that blue signal to set your circadian rhythm. And so how do you get improved sleep? You actually need a combination of bright days outdoors and dark nights. So, and ideally use warm lighting before bedtime, not the blue-rich lighting, or use warm lighting on your computer screen. Dim the lights, cover your windows to block the light, and sleep in the dark. Then the next day get out in the bright daylight, which is how evolution worked on Earth, without artificial light at night. And we talked about scattering of blue light in our eyes. It turns out that the scattering increases with age. So this is again a questionnaire, data from a questionnaire that went out versus age. How uncomfortable was this particular light? And it turns out that young people are uncomfortable at a much brighter light. Older people say that a light is uncomfortable at a much less bright level. So all these issues affect aging eyes. And here's a good and bad picture. This is looks like in a cave here, and there's a bright light that's positioned right toward the camera, causing glare. And now they fixed it to point to the side, so lighting up the walls to get indirect light, eliminating the glare, is always a good idea. Okay, another aspect of this is our dark skies are receding across Oregon. So, change from light pollution, change from aging eyes. We're going to talk about light pollution that we experience here, not only in Central Oregon, but across the state. So we've got two kinds of scientific data. We have measurements from the ground looking up. We have 70 of these meters around the state. And we have satellite images at night looking down. Okay, so here's a map of the state of Oregon showing these stars here. And each one of those stars, we have a meter that sits out and stares at the night sky, takes a reading every 5 minutes, and it tells us, after volunteers send the data in every 3 months, tells us how dark the sky is, and over time it tells us how the sky is changing. And here are some data from the local area. So this is over time from, we started this project in 2019, and this data goes up to the last year. So that here's a data set from Hobservatory. So Hobservatory is the observatory at Worthy Brewing on 20 East here in Bend. Roger Worthington, who owns that operation, is an amateur astronomer, and so he put in this pretty nice telescope system over there. So we have a meter there recording the night sky, and that's increasing at 7%. The night sky is getting 7% a year brighter, because of adjacent people lighting up the sky. Increase the population of Bend too, but that 7% a year is much higher than the population change. Okay, and other places which are on this scale particularly dark, like Black Butte Ranch, Prineville Reservoir, Pine Mountain, there's a very slight change over time. So it's in the cities where we're seeing the biggest increase of light pollution.
Doesn't Primary Reservoir have a dark sky designation?
Yes, the question is about Prineville Reservoir. Prineville Reservoir State Park was the first park in Oregon certified as an international dark sky park. And these data were used to help justify that. Okay, so here's a plot that shows, we talk about people experiencing an increase of diminishment of the stars' visibility. So this plot shows over time from nighttime satellite images from 2012 up to 2024, and this is the amount of light that a NASA satellite at 2 o'clock in the morning measured at each of those years over different areas, like the City of Bend urban growth boundary. So City of Bend is increasing pretty dramatically in brightness just in the last few years. Deschutes County is going way up and may soon overtake Bend. Redmond is here, and the smaller towns, especially La Pine here, is increasing as well. So it's a satellite that's looking down at the ground. We're seeing progressively more light coming up over the years. And here is a picture of Bend from a nighttime satellite image. So the light, these are lights, this picture was taken at 10 p.m. back in March last year. And so you can see that most of the lights are in businesses associated, like here are the car lots out on 20 East. And most of the lights are associated with businesses. The residential areas, there are some hotspot of the lights, but it's not nearly as much as provided by the businesses. Now the new Costco was put in after this picture was taken, and that Costco is right up in here. So it doesn't show up in that picture. But here's a picture taken from Aubrey Butte showing the new Costco, and this picture was taken last September with those lights that have a lot of blue in them. Look how white they look. And if you look over across the way here, this is the Home Depot, which has the old-fashioned sodium lights in their lot. Now, it's not clear to us whether they just haven't changed them out from the old days or they like the color because it matches their logo, but it could be both. Anyway, you see that it would be so much better if Costco had amber-colored lights there. Okay, here's a map of Oregon. That's Portland. Here we are in Bend, and this is the Oregon outback. And on here are shown two contours. This is a contour of from the nighttime satellite images converted into a model of sky glow. This is a contour of where the pristine night sky boundary was in 2015. Then the satellite images from 2023 show the pristine boundary is here. It's 15 miles further away. So that tells you that light pollution has increased. We're losing our pristine night sky. And this is if you're on the ground looking straight up at the zenith. The next map is a similar map, but it's including not only the zenith, but light coming from all the surroundings. And as sky glow expands, when you're in a dark sky place, the first thing you see is sky glow on the horizon. So this map picks up not only the top, but all light, including the horizon. And that story is more bleak because now the pristine night sky area is much smaller. And that's progressed away about 37 miles from the increased light pollution over the time frame, like 8 years here. Okay, so it's kind of a bleak story, but we know how to bring the starry night skies back. And that is shown by the next few models. Okay, here is a model of the state. And this is a model calculated by a colleague at Flagstaff Dark Skies Coalition, the guy who used to work at the Naval Observatory. He's calculated this model from the nighttime satellite data, but he's essentially applied all the lights to be 3,000 Kelvin, which is what the City of Bend installed in our streetlights. And he's allowing 15% uplight because we don't have perfect shielding. So some of the light is 15% is escaping into the sky. And so with that model, and that's sort of similar to reality, what we have from the actual measurement. Edge of the pristine sky is here. If we now take the same model and eliminate the wasted light going into the sky so we have perfect shielding everywhere, we get this story, which brings up a lot more pristine night sky. So this red line has now moved closer to the cities. But the big advantage of what we now know is if we change all these white lights out there to be amber, what does that look like? So this model shows that. So it's a huge benefit to reducing sky glow. And remember, it's because the amber lights do not have that blue component which preferentially scatters in the atmosphere. So if we change all the lights to amber, we'll get close to this situation. Or if we change any of the lights to amber, we'll progressively get there. And you can imagine that doing this would be, a long-term process. But it's been a long-term process causing the sky brightness to increase in the first place. So we could work back to where we used to be by using amber lights outdoors at night, perfect shielding, turn lights off you don't need. It's entirely doable. Okay, something about the economics of dark skies. So turns out that 80% of the people in the United States cannot see the Milky Way from where they live. Only 20% can, and that's because of light pollution. And as a result of that, people are quite interested to go see the Milky Way. So it's kind of a niche market of travel tourism, not only in the United States but globally. So, and the advantage of this kind of tourism is that people have to stay overnight to see the stars, either they're camping or staying in a motel somewhere. So, the travel people are happy about that idea because then they bring in more money, which is, helps the local economy. And dark sky places that are certified are particularly recognized, known publicly. So people go there. And this has been studied by a couple of places. There's some profs from Missouri State in 2019 looked at about the impact of dark sky tourism on the 4 states on the Colorado Plateau: Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona. Those states have a lot of national parks, state parks, national monuments where people go, and many of those places are certified as international dark sky parks because people in those states have been working on certification for 5 years more than we have. So, and these guys calculate that that astrotourism will bring in $580 million a year more than if there was no dark sky tourism. So that seems like $500 million. That's a lot of money. But when you divide it out among all those locations in those states, and over time, this was per year, the numbers actually make sense. So there's a lot of money in this potential idea of dark sky tourism. And there was a Quebec, Canada study where there's an observatory, a place called Mont Megantic, which is surrounded by small communities, total population about 250,000, which is not unlike the size of Deschutes County. And they calculate that there's like a $10 million a year benefit from tourists coming into those small towns to see the dark skies. Okay, international dark sky places. I've been talking about this, but what are they? They're basically places where the park managers or city council people or high school students have recognized the value of the night sky as a natural resource and get active to get their location, whether it's a park or a community, certified as internationally recognized. So we have in Oregon 7 of them at this point, and they include Cottonwood Canyon State Park, City of Antelope, City of Sisters, Prineville Reservoir State Park, Sun River, Oregon Caves National Monument, and this big one, which is the Oregon Outback dark sky sanctuary, which turns out to be, it's just the eastern half of Lake County here, and it's half the size of the state of New Jersey. Yeah, it's the biggest dark sky sanctuary in the world. There are bigger dark sky places, but they're not certified. And you know, if we down the road here, we're hoping that we get Harney County and Malheur County on board, in which case the dark sky sanctuary could be, you know, 4 times bigger.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If a place is certified, then does it make it so that there are rules about lighting, or, I mean,
Yeah.
that there
Okay.
has to be some kind of,
Yeah, the question is about certification. Are there rules? The certification is not legally binding. It is a, you know, sort of a feather in your cap, but it raises the awareness of people who visit there and in the neighboring area to, you know, be knowledgeable about the light you put out into your place. So there's a kind of a community effort to reduce light pollution. Yeah. Yeah, question?
What would it take for a national park like Crater Lake to become a dark sky?
We've had a meter measuring the night sky there for a couple of years, and the sky is you know, quite dark. It's a matter of the management there sort of working toward it, and we've worked with them periodically with the meter, and they tend to be working internal to the group. And now with the change of politics in Washington, you know, and you may have heard that the supervisor who was supportive of dark skies resigned because of the cut in people that he was forced to deal with. So it's I think, a longer term process than it would have been. There is one type of dark sky place that most people are not aware of, and that's called dark sky lodging. So if you have a permanent lodge or hotel somewhere out where you have a dark sky, like maybe up at Paulina Lake, you can get the place certified as a dark sky lodging, which again is something you can advertise and attract, you know, this aspect of dark sky tourism to your place. There's actually 2 places in Oregon currently working for dark sky lodging. There's folks in the city of Antelope, and also in southern Oregon in the Applegate Valley. There's a lodge down there they're working on. Okay, so what can you do? You can partner with us. You can look online, find our website, darkskyoregon.org, send a message, get on our mailing list. We've got a sign-up sheet back there. And by the way, there are a number of pamphlets back there, that, including pretty cool stickers that you can use on your water bottle or wherever you want to put it for free. And there's also, by the way, a flyer out there for a new astronomy club, Bend Astronomy Club, which is a pretty high-level technical group. And they are having a talk later in July, and there's a flyer back there on that. So you can also help us expand the network of sky quality meters, which are those meters that look up at the night sky. And we do have monthly Zoom meetings online. So, and if you send us an email, we'll be, you know, happy to send you an invitation. You can join Dark Sky International and become what's called a dark sky advocate. So these are folks that get invited to meetings that occur once a month, global Zoom meeting. You meet people from all over the world, and there's usually a quite interesting talk on some aspect of this issue. And you can also, of course, at your house or business, promote responsible outdoor lighting. So thanks very much. Another question, yeah.
I have a question. It's better for us to change our lights to like the amber ones, like
Yeah.
all of that. But is it financially better to have like the amber lights than the white ones? I mean, is it cheaper to have that electricity? I mean, is there a way that we could, like maybe the power company would say, hey, if everyone changed to amber, we would save X amount on whatever. and then they could give rebates to people. I don't know, I'm just wondering, is there a
Yeah.
financial advantage to the, at the smaller level, at the low,
Yeah.
like the homeowner?
So I've looked at a few manufacturer websites, and at least one of them, one of them claims, at least in the streetlight environment, that the amber streetlights are a little bit more expensive, but they claim they last longer and are therefore more efficient, or cost-effective long-term. As far as electricity use, I suspect there's not that much difference because it's just the phosphors over the LED that are causing the amber light. It's the same kind of LED as far as I know. So there is, rebates from the Oregon, what is it, Oregon Energy Trust, yeah. That would be a good place for us to start to see about the possibility of them encouraging the use of these amber lamps around the state, especially if there actually is an efficiency benefit long term. Of course, there's an environmental advantage, which is huge, and maybe they could buy into that too. Yeah, so it's a good idea. Yeah.
You mentioned light shielding, and I was wondering what is the best type of light shielding?
Any kind of opaque material that hides the bulb and prevents light from going off outside the area that you intend to light. Yeah, so the definition of light trespass is that if you're standing on a property boundary and you can see the light bulb at some light on some other property, that's trespass. Yeah, Jim.
I was gonna mention that one of your picture where you showed light domes around, you could actually see the light dome from Portland in that.
Oh.
It's right in line with Mount Jefferson. And up where we do our star parties, the Sisters Astronomy Club does in connection with the Shoots Land Trust, I have a lot of images that show these light domes from Portland, Madras, and then if you look back more to the southeast Bend and a little bit from Sisters. Anyway, so yeah, it's all over the place. And because I take pictures of long exposure with cameras and stuff, you see it. I was going to mention that we have to thank a guy who got a Nobel Prize for inventing the blue LED, which is the component of these systems that produce the blue light. That was, you can remember red LEDs from way back, a long time ago, 50 years ago or more. But somebody invented the blue LED and he got a Nobel Prize for it. So.
Yeah. In the back. Yeah, sorry.
So we are not a certified dark sky community, Ben?
No, Bend is
How
not.
far off are we from becoming one? Right? It's a multiple question. And he mentioned it's just a feather in the cap. So if we were a certified dark sky community, would we have been able to do anything to prevent Costco? Or is it just a feather in the cap and we still could do it?
Okay. Yeah, Bend is not a dark sky community like Sisters is a dark sky certified community. And several of us on Dark Sky Oregon board have been talking to Bend City Council, and it seems like at this point 2 council members who are in favor of a dark sky initiative, which means that we don't have a dark sky initiative in the current year, but we may have it next year. They kind of kept it, but it's kind of shifted a year back. A key part about, we have a lot of light pollution in Bend, but that does not stop us from getting certification, because a dark sky community merely has to have an ordinance that matches dark sky, night sky friendly lighting requirements, and business community and the residents on board with all of that. So that that's a big step for a city like Bend. And if Bend became certified, it would be the largest city in the world with certification. The next largest is Flagstaff, which has a population of about 87,000 right now. We have like 110, so it's the same ballpark size of Flagstaff. I'm sorry, there was another part of your question.
If we become certified, does it carry any weight?
Yeah, only sort of recognition. The certification itself is, as I said, it's kind of a feather in your cap and something you could advertise and promote globally. But the aspect of the lighting, the lighting ordinance is a key part to specify about light trespass, shielding, color of the light, perhaps turning lights off, after 10 p.m., close of business, all that stuff. There are requirements for that. And then the goal over time is to reduce the light pollution, which we measure, and we have like 3 different sensors continuously running around Bend so we can, track that. Yeah.
Can I add something? I'm on the board also of DarkSky Oregon. The thing about having a community become a DarkSky certified place, it brings the community together. It's like, we are this, and everyone helps each other to support the lights. Hey man, that light isn't so great, how about we fix it, or that sort of thing. It's, the idea of having light police is not really happening. So we try to have it be people to people and education, and actually in the schools, they're teaching about light pollution, and the kids go home to the parents and go, wait a minute, Dad, let's do an inventory of our house, of that, and that gets the dad or the mom, whatever, to fix the lights. So it's a community grassroots type thing that is very powerful, because,
So could you do a presentation to the higher ups of Costco and say, hey, we're working towards this and you're messing it up?
Well, we sent a pretty detailed email to the people who were building Costco, and that they circulated around to Costco management. And the upshot is they said they were going to turn the lights off at night, but that hasn't happened. And
Maybe the customers have to start emailing them.
So the idea is that the better idea is to go to Costco national management and talk to them about changing the whole story, because they build Costco's around. There's like 5 or 6 of them every year going in somewhere, so it's a huge effort. Yeah.
I haven't bought light bulbs in years, so what would I look for to buy a light bulb?
Okay, if you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, you will find programmable lights, some of which go to amber, but you won't find a light bulb, an amber light bulb that's just amber by itself. Those you have to find online. They're available online.
What will they say? You just would Google
Just,
amber light bulbs?
yeah, amber light bulbs.
Okay.
And at home, at the big box stores, you will find yellow light bulbs, which are sold as bug lights, but they're not amber. Yellow is, pretty good, but amber goes a step further. And amber tends to be more aesthetic also than the yellow. And they're sold, those yellow ones are sold as bug lights because if you put them on your porch, you'll observe that they do not attract the insects. Yeah.
Is the city of Bend working at all with amber lights, with street lights? Because I'm asking, I live 2 miles from a roundabout on Rutland Market in 27, 2 miles, and the lights from the roundabout glare into my house 2 miles.
Yeah. The city of Bend at this time is not focused on a dark sky initiative, so there's no effort on the city to change that. Those, however, may be responsible. ODOT may be responsible for those lights.
Will they replace them when the purple ones peel?
Okay, the purple ones. Ideally, here's a story. Suppose we convince the city of Bend to convert when they go out to replace the purple ones. Let's put an amber one in instead, and get citizen feedback on whether they like that or not. My feeling is people will greatly prefer that to the white, and certainly better than the purple. Yeah.
So this is a really timely thing for me because I have an electrician scheduled for Monday. I've had outdoor lights that I have on a timer now, but they're the lights that came with the house when I bought it in 2010, and they don't have any.
No shielding.
Yeah. And so the ones that I bought, and I'm thinking of taking them back now and just waiting a little bit longer, because what you just said was that amber lights will not attract insects. So these lights, they're just like a, I don't know, cheapo kind of thing.
Yeah.
Put the bulb in the bottom, but there's so much insect junk inside the lights that I don't know how many times a year I have to go in there with something
Yeah.
and clean out all the junk.
Well,
And I'm just wondering if I got amber, so the new lights that I got are downward facing. There was only one light in Home Depot that said, dark sky rated. But this is kind of a closed system in that.
the one you have
to
is,
replace the whole thing.
the one you have is closed. Sorry, the one that you have is
The
closed.
one that I have is open.
Oh,
That's how
oh.
all the insects are getting in.
Oh.
So the reason I got this, it says dark sky rated, but it's closed, and it's like a cylinder, so the light comes down.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, it's closed, that means, I won't have to clean out bug guts half a dozen times a year. But I'm wondering,
But-
the downside of that is that you have to replace the whole thing when the LED goes out.
Oh.
Which, will probably last quite a while.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting
Yeah.
to is,
Yeah.
I got amber
Well,
lights.
yeah, insects are also attracted to warmth. So it could be that even an LED light that doesn't put out much heat,
Right.
you'll get wasps there anyway, even if it's amber.
Well, the lights that I have in there are LEDs.
Yeah, so they're attracting. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it could be an experiment, change 3 of them to amber and the others leave as, see what happens.
I realize that it's a
Yeah.
work in progress now.
Yeah. Okay.
I was hoping to get it out of the way Monday, but it looks like.
Oh, yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
Well, I just wondered if you had to list 3 or 5 things that we here in the room could do collectively or individually, how would you rate those things?
Well,
I've
it-
heard a few suggestions flying
yeah.
out, but
Well, in the city of Bend, I think it would be quite excellent if the city of Bend adopted the Dark Sky Initiative, so more people write letters to the council, say, hey, let's start this initiative now instead of next year. It's not a goal right now. Next year it might be a goal, but it also might fall off the back of the truck next year. So I think that's number one. And then you might all collectively look at the lights outside your house, do an evaluation. Are they properly shielded? Maybe change them to amber if they're white, or turn them off if you don't need them at night. And am I missing some other points here about?
Well, I think the key thing is writing to the city and then.
Writing to the city.
Especially about those purple streetlights. There's a site that's called Ben Works, and you type in your street corner where there's a bad light, and you send them a message, please fix it. So it's up to the community to be not really light police, but be, I don't know, light aware and get them to do stuff. And also I just want to mention that you said that roundabout is causing you to see lights in your house quite a distance. If there's a street light that's going into your home, the city, and this is not Pacific Power, this is the city, will come in and put a shield on the light so that it will not go onto your property. But they have to come out and test it. They write and just please, and then they come out and then check it, and then they usually put in a shield for you.
Yeah.
Who are the 2 city council people who are supporting the dark skies?
The Bend City Council? The primary one is Steve Platt. He's a retired Air Force colonel, teaches high school. He's got nothing better to do than work on city council. He's very motivated on dark skies.
Say the last name again?
Steve Platt.
Platt.
He's, yeah,
2 out of how many, Bill?
And Megan?
7, I think. Yeah.
It'd be nice if they're.
Not that the mayor's against it, but
Sorry.
the other mayor. Perkins, yes.
Other question?
It'd be good if they had a flyer that they could put out in your power bill,
Yeah, point about, suppose we had a comment on our utility electric bill about, switching to amber colored LEDs. This is actually, we're making, City of Bend is kind of stalemated right now. We're making more progress, we think, with Deschutes County, surprisingly enough. Deschutes County reinvigorated the idea of updating their 1994 lighting ordinance, and several of us have recently written in and got on record what specific things we would like changed in the lighting ordinance for whole Deschutes County. So if anybody, we all live, probably most people live in the incorporated city of Bend, but we're, representatives of Deschutes County. So you could write into Deschutes County Planning Commission. Actually, they closed the input as of like last Wednesday, but I think if anybody writes into Tanya Saltzman, who's representative of the Deschutes Planning Commission, tell them you support the Dark Sky Initiative for Deschutes County. That would help.
Also, I would say with DarkSky Oregon, we get a lot of ideas, but we're all volunteers. And if you have a passion for your idea, we can help you direct it and focus and all that sort of stuff. 'Cause we can't do it all.
So,
We work hard.
yeah.
We really want the support of other people and passionate people.
Appreciate all the questions. There's one more thing we could show, and that is with support from Visit Central Oregon. You okay for a few more minutes? With support from Visit Central Oregon, we received money from their Future Fund over a 2-year period. And with that money, part of the thing we did was to put together public service announcements about light pollution. We had them running on local TV. You may have seen some of them. So there's 5 of them, each one's 30 seconds long, and there's some aspect, each one covers some aspect of light pollution. And they're available on our Dark Sky Oregon website.